Hello, guys. I'm Alvio,
And I'm Kath.
and welcome back to As If We Know podcast. Today, we are exploring the blueprint for creativity. So, we hope you are ready to put some colors into your life.
Yes, and today these are some of the questions we want to explore. Who is allowed to be creative, and why do we believe it's only for some people? What would change if more of us saw ourselves as creative by default? And have we become less creative as humans, or are we living in systems that flatten originality?
You know what I've done this whole week?
Tell me.
I've only listened to Ray's new album.
Okay.
My God, it was like going to church.
Okay.
Every day, I woke up and I was like, play this album. Like, I think it's
What is she
called.
giving you?
I don't know. It looks like she's like 10 years younger than me, but I feel like she feels me, or actually feels like the millennials. We are back with the millennials, but it
She
looks
does
like,
give millennial energy.
yes, exactly. And I don't know every word, every lyrics. And I'm like, yeah, that's so true, and
I need to listen. I haven't listened yet.
my God, yes, you do.
Amazing.
Like everyone needs to listen to it.
I've been listening to this South African artist called Bongiziwe Mabandla, who played at the Botanique last weekend. And I
Okay.
went with a couple of friends. And it was such a proud moment for me because, it's not a massive venue, but it's still the Botanique. And this guy is singing his entire set in isiXhosa, which is a local South African language.
Okay.
And the venue was packed. The whole crowd, of course, there was a handful of South Africans in the crowd, but mostly Belgian audience who does not speak the language at all.
That's amazing.
And everybody was just loving it. Like the energy in the room was amazing. Everybody was vibing with the music. And that just showed me that, language is one thing. Yes, the
Yeah.
message is one thing, but so much is about the energy.
That's
And
for sure.
I think that's something beautiful about creativity. We always like to start by questioning the existing blueprint. So what does that look like for creativity in your mind?
Well, for me, I have this feeling that creativity or creative acts are only reserved for the one born with a specific talent, whether it can be a musician, a painter, a writer, an elite on some sort of that type of people who can do something kind out of the extraordinary. And then, as a response to that, I would say that our default behavior is to consume that kind of art, that kind of creativity, instead of ourselves practicing it because it seems so far out of reach.
And where do you think that comes from?
Well, I think from maybe like the beginning, we can see that only the great painters are exhibited in the museum. The biggest like fashion designer are displayed in the magazine. Artists, musicians are seen on television. And I feel it comes from the fact that we only see the final product, whether it be like music, paintings, a book that you're going to read, but we never really focus on what, like the journey that has been, that, I don't know, the artist has been going through.
What it took to get there?
Yeah, to get there. Might it be the process, the doubt, the hard work? Because like we never really see the hard work that's behind like something. As I said, like we only see the final product. And I think that what we see most of the time is something that is perfect, finished. And then our brain kind of does like a shortcut saying like, oh my God, this is so perfect. So I will probably never be able to do it because I don't have that specific talent, or I don't have what it takes to have such a beautiful final product. And so it became like really something like creativity or creative act became really something that became kind of intimidating, we turned it into something that's sacred, not natural, or not something that's innate to each and everyone. While actually, when you dive deeper, we are all born with, as human, with something like special. We are all like, here with a gift, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yep, I resonate a lot with all of that. Yeah, I think you're right. It feels like we have conflated creativity with art, and of course they have a very strong relationship to each other.
Yeah.
But as you say, if you only think that creativity equals high art, you are restricting and preventing all the rest of us from being able to participate in
Yeah.
that, or for seeing any possibilities for ourselves in that creative space.
True.
One thing that happens in creative advertising is that you have a specific team that's called the creative team. It's the people that are doing the writing, the designing, the concepting, the ideating, and they are all extremely talented. Of course, we love their work. The problem with having one team that's called the creative team is that I feel unintentionally that it makes everybody else in the building feel like creativity lives over there.
Yeah.
Creativity does not live here. And even though any team can use creativity to their advantage, even in things like finance, accounts, strategy,
Yeah.
the minute any creative or creativity related question is on the table, people think, okay, that belongs to that team.
Yeah.
And so I think we do a bit of a disservice when we as a society, a business, a culture, specifically assign creative and the power of creativity to one person or one team. We should democratize creativity a little bit because it can be so valuable for anyone.
And you know what? Social media showed us that actually it's accessible to each and everyone. Everyone can create, everyone can be visible. That creativity is no longer tied to access, whether money or geography, wherever you are in the world, or the connection that you have. I feel that thanks to that, we can see a bunch of creative people sharing their work, and it's so inspiring because it kind of puts that back into our hands, And for me, when I think about that, I think there is this guy that just went viral online. He's like an Ethiopian fashion designer. I don't know if you heard about him. His name is Kaluputik.
No, I haven't heard of him.
On Instagram. So he's really like making couture garment out of recycled material, and he's based like in Ethiopia, and he's really like going viral at the moment because it doesn't matter what kind of
materials,
sources that you have. You can really create something extraordinary out of nothing, And I love to see that, and that people are very drawn to that kind of profile, and that this guy is able to show and showcase what he can create, And I feel that, for once we really can credit social media for let us be able to do that,
I think, as with anything around social media, it's a bit complicated.
Yeah.
I think I absolutely agree with you, and I love these kind of niche creators. I would love to know actually from our listeners, like, what are some of your most exciting, intriguing niche creators where you just, love the creativity and the expression? Because again, I think social media has just opened up this whole new world.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think it's also true that the other half of social media also flattens originality in some way, because for a lot of people, they're not using it to express their own originality, but they're using it to conform to a trend, or to, I think we can even see this playing out in broader culture, where even just looking at coffee shops, for example, coffee shops used to be these kind of hubs of niche local, community expression. If you were at a small coffee shop in one neighborhood, maybe it would embody really the personality and the spirit of that neighborhood. Now, a lot of coffee shops in a lot of big cities in the world, they just look exactly the
Yeah,
same. You have
exactly.
the stone concrete, maybe the wooden top. It all looks the same. And I find that a bit depressing. So there's kind of this like algorithmic sameness at the same time as you have these kind of, thriving underground emerging niche creators, which is so fascinating and so cool to see.
Yeah. It could have been like both way. Like we could have reclaimed that creativity and really display what what we really are, like in a creative sense. But instead of that, as I said, like we were worshiping a few artists, a few painters, a few musicians, but we moved from that to imitating like the many. As you said, we are all doing the same. And I feel like there are many reasons why we do that. Like on social media, I think we always want to please the algorithm. There is actually this psychology concept called social conformity bias that says that we are subconsciously imitate what is rewarded. So I think it's part of it, it's like the
I mean,
same.
that's how an algorithm works, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you get the engagement, you feel validated, you want to do whatever the thing
Yeah.
is that brings the views. Yeah. We talk a lot about success, accomplishment, validation, legacy, wealth, all these things. But at the end of the day, I also think that the most important thing that we can do with our time here is figure out, what are those unique talents and skills and gifts and ways of seeing the world that live within each of us, and how can we express that in a way that only we can. I think that's kind of what we're here to do.
I think you said it beautifully. And what it brings us back, it's really like the definition of creativity. Creativity is really, it's not just art, it's really shaping something that didn't exist before. And that can really be different from one person to another. For instance, it can be like growing something, like growing a garden, growing flowers, or just decorating a space the way you like it and the way that translates your personality. Or
It can be how you move your body even while you're at the gym. It can be
that it
how
can
you
be
move through
also
the
like,
day,
yeah, how you solve problem.
how you
Because
solve problems. Yeah.
yeah, and it reminds me the way what you were saying with the marketing team. Like there is only one specific creative team, but then actually when you look at it and then you reclaim a bit that definition, and you see that actually, oh, the way that I solve a problem can also be creative, because it's a way that someone else would have not think about it. And then actually, so it's really like depending, and it's innate in all of us, because it will be different from one person to another.
Have you seen the Rick Rubin definition?
No.
Do you know who that is? He's that guy. He's a music producer,
Okay.
and he's worked with massive acts over the years, like the Beastie Boys, a lot of famous people. But he also wrote a book, I think it came out a couple of years ago, called The Creative Act. It's a
Yeah,
bit of a
yes,
long
yes,
one, but I
yes,
think
yes,
it's
yes.
worth it. So he says, creativity is not a rare ability. It is not difficult to access. Creativity is a fundamental aspect of being human. It's our birthright, and it's for all of us. Creativity doesn't exclusively relate to making art. We all engage in this act on a daily basis. To create is to bring something into existence that wasn't there before, just like you said.
Yeah.
It could be a conversation, the solution to a problem, a note to a friend, the rearrangement of furniture in a room, a new route home to avoid a traffic jam. What you make doesn't have to be witnessed, recorded, sold, or encased in glass for it to be a work of art.
True.
Through the ordinary state of being, we're already creators in the most profound way, creating our experience of reality and composing the world we perceive. To live as an artist is a way of being in the world, a way of perceiving, a practice of paying attention. refining our sensitivity to tune in to the more subtle notes, looking for what draws us in and what pushes us away, noticing what feeling tones arise and where they lead. Attuned choice by attuned choice, your entire life is a form of self-expression. You exist as a creative being in a creative universe, a singular work of art. Isn't that beautiful?
That's beautiful. That's so funny because then I think about all the time, also like creativity get me to somewhere unexpected and rewarding. I will just take like a stupid example. When I was at school, and when we talk again about the definition of creativity, this comes with the problem solving creativity. I hated probabilities, never understood a thing. And then there comes like this problem, and then I had to solve it. And actually, I don't know how my brain did work on that day, but it worked in a way that was so different of the way my math teacher solved the problem that it got me extra points.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So by being creative in problem solving, I got extra point because even the teacher didn't even think about the way I solved the problem.
So wait, so how did you solve it? You just, under pressure, something came to you?
Not even under pressure. I was like, I don't know. And probabilities, I guess that's how it works. There are so many ways of solving a thing. But I don't know. It was just how my brain did it was, I think, a longer way of doing it. But at the end, I arrived at the same result.
Okay.
So, yeah. And that shows also like the process. It doesn't matter like what kind of process do you take, how long the journey will be, as long as at the end, you will still arrive where you need to arrive.
When you get these flashes and glimpses of your own creative potential, it's very exciting, and it kind of forms this core memory and becomes sort of like a life highlight. I think then the question is, if those memories live so deep in us, why is it that it's such a struggle for so many of us to keep up a consistent creative practice, Because I think that's the other part of it. When you read all of the writing that's been done on creativity, you read Elizabeth Gilbert, Rick Rubin, Julia Cameron, who did The Artist's Way, all of these people. This idea that comes up time and time again is a little bit around discipline, and how creativity, of course, it's fun, it's experimental, and we shouldn't be driven by perfectionism or constrained by rules. But at the same time, what we should do is show up regularly and practice and be dedicated. A lot of these great creatives talk about the importance of a consistent creative practice. But I think it's so hard to achieve because for so many of us, it's kind of painful because, having that consistent creative practice means that you have to be very, very comfortable with witnessing yourself at all stages of that journey. You have to be fine with the project when it's not going well, when it's just the spark of an idea, when it's messy, when it's imperfect, when it's frustrating. And for so many of us, going through that phase is so off-putting that we would rather not engage in any kind of creative activity at all, because having to sit with the discomfort of being bad at something, getting over the cringe phase, getting over the fear of failure, it's so uncomfortable that for many people that, it's much easier to just think, oh, well, I'm just not creative. I'm just not going to even try,
We can see maybe after where does that come from. But the thing is, we always talk about consistency. But consistency means we've already started. But the thing is, that's the point. We need to get started. And most of us don't because we are waiting for some inspiration. The thing is, you cannot wait for inspiration because, while you might have an idea, I feel like personally that inspiration will grow bigger and bigger the more you do, the more you act, the more you create.
I think so many people don't want to start or don't want to put something out there or launch and even if you just want to do it by yourself, like so many people don't even want to get going because, again, they are intimidated by the fact of what it might look like if it's not yet good. But of course it's not good because you're just starting. So you have to really yeah, like kind of turn that over in your mind. And as you were talking, I mean, I wrote down a few quotes that all sort of say the same thing. And I think, again, it's so funny that all these great creatives in the world kind of have the same
Yeah.
insights, which is very similar to what you said. So Maya Angelou said that creativity is like a muscle. The more you use it, the more you have.
Yeah.
And it's not a finite resource. Pablo Picasso said, inspiration exists, but it has to find you working, which is so true.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino said, the pen is the antennae to God. And so what he means by that is like, it's a bit the same as what Picasso said, like you're only going to get that inspiration if you're writing, if you're making. Stephen King said, amateurs sit and wait for inspiration. The rest of us just get up and go to work. That fear of starting, I think, is related to a few different things. We almost self-censor ourselves before we've even begun because of a few different things. So I'm a strategist. We like to make little models of things. And I thought of when I was kind of I was really interested in this question of like, why do we sabotage ourselves creatively? Because I think a lot of people can relate to this feeling. Well, I don't know if a lot of people can relate. You tell me, guys. But like I know that when I chat to friends, especially I think in the kind of creative industry as well, a lot of people have this feeling of like, I am sure that deep down in me somewhere, I'm capable of something great. But I feel frustrated and I don't know how to excavate that thing and I don't know where to start. And so I was trying to explore a bit about what is it actually that makes us self-sabotage. The one is cringe, the fear of judgment. So the fear of what are other people going to think. One is control. So being obsessed with the outcome and refusing to create something that might not live up to your own completely unrealistic perfectionist standards. Because you want it to be perfect and polished. Comparison. So I hear this a lot with people saying it's already been done. Why should I do it? And then consumption. So we consume so much external stimulus that there's very little room to actually explore and excavate our own internal inspiration.
We like to make ourselves suffer. When I hear about
my
that,
God.
it's like all these little voice that we listen into our head. And then, it's either you listen to it and then you don't go anywhere, or either you're like, okay, well, I hear you, but I'm still going to try and still going to trust that something is going to come out of it. And then most of the time, you have that feeling of self-accomplishment that comes with it because you're like, oh, well, I've overcome that little voice that was in my mind. And actually, I've created something that I am so proud of. And even if it's not perfect, I don't care because now it's there. I've been vulnerable. I put myself out there. And then it doesn't matter what the people are gonna say about it because it comes
That's
from...
not the point.
It's not the point, first of all. And everything comes from my heart. And, I've been inspired to do it. And then that's how the loops start. And then you need to keep going and apply that same kind of resonating again and again and again. And then the more you do it, the more this little voice is going to shut the F up. And then you will be able to to explore more, to create more, to go places you didn't dare to go before, to go talk and meet people or community you didn't dare to before. It takes courage to be creative because it's being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, because what creativity is also is really an expression of self, an expression of your emotion, your values, your opinion. I feel this is it, like that's why I want to use this outlet, of the podcast, because it is really what I wanted to put out there, really my opinion about the system that were kind of outdated today and how we should navigate them and how we could redefine certain concepts that were so set in stone and, like about success, about power, about everything that we are talking today. And
I think about that when I think about this podcast a lot, because a lot of people think, why would you launch a podcast in 2026?
Yeah.
Like, there's a million podcasts out there.
True.
And it is true, but I also think nobody would ever say, like, why are you writing a book? There's a million books out there,
Yeah, true.
you know? And it's also like, just because it's already been done doesn't mean it's already been done by me or you or anyone else out there, you know? And you can apply that to anything in life. Like, the fact that somebody else has done something is an insane reason to not think that you might be able to do it too. So it's not
Exactly.
about the outcome, but it's about the process and you going on that journey for yourself.
It really shows how unique of a person you can be as well. And then, as you say, even if it's not for others, it's like so healing for yourself, because just putting on paper what you are thinking is always like it's weight.
It's energy flow.
Yeah, it's energy flow. Exactly. You're totally right.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it can be like very healing in a way.
Totally.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about what creativity means to each of us. I'll go first. I'm not going to sit here and say that I am an expert in this creativity thing. I really battle with it all the time, and I have for my whole life. I've always had this feeling that I'm so drawn to creative spaces. I love the world of creativity. I immerse myself in art, in reading, in books. And then at the same time, I have this very loud group chat of inner saboteur voices telling me that I am not creative. I'm not worth it. I'm not a good writer. I have nothing to say. All of these, horrible things. And I have this very, very clear memory of the first time in my life that I felt like that. And I wonder if this is potentially one of the origin stories of where all those voices came from.
Yeah.
When I was young, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. And I remember I had been doing a drawing or coloring something in. I was with paper and crayons. And I remember I showed my grandmother what I had made. And she was very well-meaning and very sweet. But what she said to me was, she said, "Catherine, this is very nice, but did you know that all the children that win competitions for their art, they color inside the lines?"
Yeah, exactly.
And she was trying to teach me something, but the fact that I still remember to this day how what she said made me feel. It was the first time that it had ever occurred to me that what I was making was wrong or was not valuable on its own, And of course, I don't hold anything against my grandmother for that.
Kind of.
And the fact that I still remember it is such Taurus behavior.
Kind of.
One thing about a Taurus is we will hold a grudge for a lifetime. So, Grandma, rest in peace. I forgive you. But I also, I've never forgotten that. And that's just one example. I feel like there's been a few little moments throughout my life where I've run into kind of walls with anything creative that I've made.
Who hasn't been told to
what you made sucks?
No, yeah, that, but to draw inside the lines, every kid, or you are not using the right color, the sea is supposed to be blue. Well, what if I want my sea pink, and so it's like a whole
sabotage behavior.
Yeah, and the thing is that they all wanted to do good. It all came with good intention, as you said, but it's just oh no, this is not the right way of doing it. And we've grown up with that
mentality.
Mentality. Oh, sorry, it's not the right way of doing it. Either it's at school, either it's at work. So it followed through our entire life and up till where we are, and we need, and that's why again we need to reclaim that, being well, if I want to draw outside of the line and use other kind of color, well, maybe I'm able to do so. And that's what we see with big painters. Usually the form doesn't mean anything, or the colors doesn't mean anything. It's just really an expression of what they had in their mind or the way they were expressing their feelings. So I think that's where it comes from.
I really think that one of my big lessons on this earth, which I think I'm quite proud to say as I'm almost 40, I'm like starting to learn, is to just silence that group chat and embrace the cringe.
I
And
love it.
now I don't care if I embarrass myself, you know, or I don't feel embarrassed by myself,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like I think it's way more embarrassing to just not try something or not make anything or live in, you know, fear of anyone saying something nasty about something you've made. It's way more embarrassing to just kind of live your life stuck and stagnant and not producing anything,
Yeah.
not creating anything, never expressing yourself. Just start, you know, create for
Yeah.
yourself, create in private. You don't have to publish anything.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
at the same time, don't be afraid. If you want
If
to
you
put
like,
something
if
out
yeah, if you
there,
like.
then you should, you know. I think don't wait for permission or don't wait until you meet some crazy standard of perfection that you've made up in your mind before you share your work, if that's something that you want to do.
True.
I want to bring it back to the bigger picture in culture. We've said a few times on the show that we are a society that is starving for solutions, new systems, new ideas. But yet, what's happening in culture, there's this term that we see called the blandification of culture,
Yeah.
which is that everything is starting to look the same. I think a lot of that is driven by this kind of algorithmic approach
Yeah,
to
of
life.
course.
We're all dressing the same. Even if you think about music and film, we're living in kind of this endless nostalgia loop where we just keep bringing back the same things. We're making endless sequels and remixes. And where is the newness and the originality? Of course, there's some little pockets of it. We've mentioned Rosalia. I love what Justin Bieber did at Coachella. That was very original.
Yeah.
I love what Mathieu Blasi is doing at Chanel.
Yes.
There's pockets of it, but I think, as a whole, things are stagnating. And this is also a real opportunity for what we spoke about earlier around creativity as something we can apply to so many different spaces of life. Like, we need much more creative problem solving in government, in business, in the systems of how we organize ourselves as a global society, in sustainability. I mean, we need so much reinvention and newness and originality, but yet the culture that we exist in is encouraging us to just do more of the same,
Yeah.
you know, copy, do what's done before. That's how things work.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it before a bit already. It's, going where it worked before. So we just imagine that, okay, if it works before, it's going to work again. And we're going to go this route again and again and again. And it's going to take time. It's going to take people, as I said already before, kind of rebellion, doing things differently and being okay, being uncomfortable in doing things differently. Because once you start to do things differently, the first thing that will come is judgment because you don't follow the rules. And then that's going to be on us to be okay with that judgment coming in and being directly pointed at us, but yeah, it's going to take time because it's going to take courage to go against the grain, to go against what society has taught us, what culture is showing us that is in, right or not, so it will take time,
Yeah, and that's again why I think we need everyone to explore their own creativity and to apply that in whatever field they're working in.
And be nicer to one another, because just by being nicer, we'll be more comfortable in trying new things.
Yes.
Because we
and
won't be scared of that judgment coming in our way.
And we need to get better at constructive
Yeah.
discussion, you know, because of course of course, people should be allowed to say if they don't like something. And of course, you need critique to get better. That's kind of how art works.
Yeah.
But especially, again, in this like chronically online culture, nobody wants to put anything out there because everybody is so shit scared of, being trolled in their own
Yeah.
comments or being told that what they're doing sucks. And yeah, I think we just need to have a much healthier culture of yeah, a kinder culture to each other in the way that we express ourselves.
There's always going to be haters, darling. But I mean, we cannot focus on that. If not, we're not going anywhere.
No. Why would you care about criticism from people who are not doing anything themselves,
Yeah. Or just as RuPaul would say, darling, what people say behind my back is not of my business.
Yes.
And I think that's so true.
So true.
Just like you don't
Or
care.
even what people say to your face.
Yeah.
Same thing,
That's so true.
Anytime you are being truly creative, you are doing something new or you are doing it in your own way, in a way that's never been done before.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, to a lot of people, it might seem weird or embarrassing or cringe.
Because you're opening the way in a way.
Yeah, because they've never seen it before.
Yeah.
So, of course, they think it's weird until until it becomes successful. And then when it becomes successful, when it catches on, then everybody's like, whoa, never seen this before. This is amazing. So the gap between, being this weirdo who's sort of experimenting with their own ideas and their own projects versus being this maverick, original, creative genius, that's a long, long journey and a long path. And I think too many people just get stuck on that first step and then are not like tapped in for the whole journey.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Is really being like a precursor. Do we say that?
Precursor, yeah.
Yeah. And that's true. Then it's going to be weird until it becomes either innovation or creativity.
To wrap up.
Yeah.
The old blueprint was creativity as an artistic skill, creativity only reserved for a few people, creativity as a nice to have or luxury for those with talent or time.
Or money or connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Creativity as something that you do for accomplishment and success and external validation.
Yeah. Catherine, what are we taking forward for the new blueprint of creativity?
So here's what I wrote down. I wrote, creativity is not high art for a select few. It's anything that brings something new into existence. It is life force and it is our birthright. Creativity doesn't need to be perfect, productive, or shared, but it can be if that's what you want. Creativity needs to be nurtured through regular practice and healthy discipline. Inspiration exists, but it has to find you working. And in a world starving for solutions, creativity is an essential path to adaptation, reinvention, and new vision for the future.
Love all that. I think you've said it all. Once again, welcome to Catherine Podcast. I'm Alfio and I'm leaving.
Don't leave. Don't ever leave. Oh my God.
Wonderful. Guys, it's time for the fortune cookie forecast. Catherine, what does it say today?
Ooh. Marry with your match.
Oh, yeah. Marry with your match creatively. Sure. Thank you, Cookie. You.
As a reminder, we know nothing and neither does the fortune cookie.
Yeah, well, marry your match.
record.
It can be taken, either like if you need to hear that today, maybe you're going to get married soon, like literally.
Yeah,
or
or-
marry your match, meaning.
I think it's about the creative inspiration. You're going to find the inspiration that's out there waiting for you if you open yourself up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, guys, I hope you're ready to get creative. Thank you for listening to As If We Know.
Yes, and we want to hear about what you are working on, what you dream of working on. So don't hesitate to send us a DM, leave us a comment or a message, or chat to us in real life. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. You can subscribe on YouTube or follow us on Instagram.
Bye. See you next
See you
time.
next time.